where there's been more of an emphasis on coaching. Who in here is already a certified coach of some sort, be it a CSC, IMA, CPCC, or some other coaching certification? Who has a certification? Anybody?
Educated, yes. Certified, not.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Educated, yes. Certified, not.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So how many people are Agile coaches in your coaching today? Okay, all right, good. All right, so what I'm gonna go over, well, first off, a little bit about me, right? So I'm Gary Bamberger, got lots of initials. This picture was taken of me in Germany. I was a very happy camper in Germany. My God, the beer was awesome. This year, I'm hoping that I can sample a little more of the Czech beer because I hear it's awesome as well. I do lots of stuff. I have a website. End of ad. So here's what we're doing today. We're going to go over a coaching definition. So we're going to define what coaching is and how it differentiates, how it's different than mentoring. Okay? Then we're going to talk about common coaching skills, and these are coaching skills that come out of my certification, CPCC, right? So it's actually skills that I'm pulling forward from there that I use every day in my coaching practice, coaching Agile teams, as well as in every other aspect of my life. I just find that I put on my coaching hat, and the next thing you know, away we go. And then we're going to talk about the coaching session structure, and then all y'all are going to get to practice coaching. And what we'll do is we'll break up into small teamlets, triads, 3 people, and so then you can experience coaching and practice some of these skills. Okay, that's the plan. Got it? All right, so let's start. So what is coaching? So the International Coaching Federation says that it's really a partnership where our goal is to inquire and work with a quote-unquote client in order to figure out how do we motivate this person? How do we get them to realize their potential? So it's a big thing around, focusing on an area where the client is stuck. Maybe it's a problem that the client is having. And what our goal is as coaches is to help that client move forward. Whether it's through action items or whether it's through some sort of inquiry that they need to sit with for some period of time. Our goal is to help them to move forward motion, right? Coaches do, so differentiation of coaching from psychology and all of that tends to look at past things. We are very focused on moving forward. We don't, your baggage is your baggage. We'll deal with it if we need to, but our focus is really on how do you move forward. And so our priority is to focus on the client. What kind of vision do they have? What are their priorities? What are their values? And it's really important to get in touch with people's values, right? What is it that they value as a person? And does that actually align with what the team values are? Does that actually align with what the organization's values are? Okay? So coaching is really around us supporting, as coaches, we are supporting people in finding their own answers. We don't have to solve their problems for them. We believe as coaches that people are naturally resourceful, creative, and whole. They are not broken. We are there just to help expand their thinking, maybe look at different perspectives, things like that, in order for them to solve their own problem. Okay? And so our focus isn't on fixing their problems for them. Our focus is really solely on how do we help them to figure out their own solution. Got it? Okay. So the coaching model, so one other thing I'll talk about is coaching versus mentoring. So mentoring, there is usually a relationship. What kind of relationship would that be? Well, it would be, you have a protege or a mentee, and then you have a mentor, somebody who's been there, done that, and I can help you in advancing, right? So there's a lot of advice that might be given there. There's a lot of input from the mentor to the mentee. That's not what we're doing in coaching. We are not there to give them advice, per se. We are there to enable them to figure out their own solutions, okay? Got it? Anybody here ever been and you just wanted to vent to somebody and the other person starts fixing your problem for you? Anybody have that? Right? Okay. So this is a lot about allowing the person to vent and then helping them to move forward, asking them questions and giving them structures with which they can move forward and move out of the stuck position where you're venting and actually move into an action, a more positive and a more proactive type of mindset, okay? So there's a lot of different coaching models that exist out there. This is the one that I went through. There are no right or wrong answers with regards to the coaching models. This is the one that I know the best, so that's the one I'm pulling from. There's a lot of overlap between the different coaching models. You just need to know that there's more than one way to do this. Got it? All right? All right. So, coaching skills. We're going to dive right into coaching skills. The first coaching skill, and probably the best coaching skill, or the one in my toolbox that I use the most, is powerful questions. They are questions that emanate from curiosity, not from judgment. So I'm naturally curious. I'm channeling my inner 2-year-old, if you will, right? I'm really into, oh, what's making this person tick? Why are they thinking that? What's going around that? So, curiosity to me is really around, it opens up the conversation, opens up my ability to serve the person that I'm working with. I also find that typically people have thought things through to a certain level. So the first couple of answers to the questions I ask, they come out rote, right? They've already thought about that. It's when you get into like the 4th and 5th and 6th questions that you're in new territory. It's like something new for them to think about because they've already thought about all the other stuff. Now they're into new territory. So that's where I tend to see where people are, and I see that they're creating those new thoughts and new connections in their mind. So what are some examples of open-ended questions or powerful questions that we could ask? Okay, this is the part where you guys participate. Just wanted to, is this thing on? Hello? No, sorry, go ahead.
What other are thinking about your problem?
What was it again?
What other people are thinking about your problem?
What other people are thinking about your problem, right? Is it a team thing or is it an individual thing? Great question. What else?
What do you want to achieve by doing this work or project?
Awesome. What do you want to achieve? Excellent. What else?
Why do you want to do it?
What's it?
Why do you want to do it?
So that's a really great, I'm glad somebody brought that up. So whys, we tend to tread very lightly in the whys. Why would we do that? Because why people almost get defensive. Depending on the situation, right? We tend to shy away from the whys more because we don't want people, we want to avoid people getting into that defensive part. Well, I'm doing it because of this, right? No, I'm just asking, right? So, good.
How do you feel?
How do you feel? Absolutely. And where do you feel that in your body, right? So anybody here present already today? Okay. So, if you presented, how did you feel? Well, I felt butterflies, right? How did you feel?
Sorry, I'm wrong answer.
Okay, that's fine. There are no wrong answers. There we go.
I felt relaxed.
You felt relaxed?
Because I've done it before once. So.
There you go, right? So having that prior experience absolutely helps. So open-ended questions, typically beginning with what or how, are the sweet spot. Once you get into it and you've built that relationship with the person, absolutely you can ask those why questions. Avoid them from a judgment perspective though, right? You got to ask those things out from a curiosity perspective. You got to put on your curiosity hat, okay? All right. So, and a couple of them came down. There's handouts. If people have handouts, you could jot down some ideas there on what some of the good open-ended questions are, and you can use these as we go through when you guys are doing your labs. You're actually experimenting with this. Then you can use them to write down good questions or things that really landed well with the other person. And that's a key thing with this as well, is you need to read the other person. When I ask a question, I tend to see how it landed for the other person. Maybe it wasn't the right question. But the key is I'm only going to ask one at a time. I struggled with this when I first started doing coaching. I used to ask like 5 questions all at once, and then the person's like, okay, which one do you want me to answer? Pick one. so you know, being crisp and clear, asking a question, and then moving on from there is good. All right. Next coaching skill, silence. It's okay to have silence, especially if you get to that 5th level of questioning where they're thinking new thoughts. Not everybody thinks really fast. As a matter of fact, if you ask my wife, I answer exceptionally slowly. Okay? She's like this, she's not, right? She's like, make some kind of noise if you're awake, right? Right?
Yeah.
So it's
Still
one of those
online.
things where I don't think quickly, right? I gotta mull things out and I gotta think them through, and the synapses are, you know, I don't know, not firing all the time, especially after all the wine I drank last night. So this is the thing. Allow for silence. It's okay. Let there be silence. There's nothing wrong with it. The next coaching skill is listening, and this is, again, one of the most important skills is listening. It's listening for what's said, how it's said, the energy behind it, etc. So there's 3 levels of listening. The first level of listening is self-absorbed. So have you ever had a conversation? Well, I've had many conversations with my wife. She's talking to me, and I'm thinking all about me. Right? I'm thinking about how this impacts me. I'm thinking about, you know, other things that are focused on me. That's called level 1 listening. Your focus is internal. Level 2 listening is where you're listening to what is actually being said by the other person. You're actually paying attention. Okay? And you're listening to the words, you're understanding what's going, you might even be probing for better understanding. Okay? The third level of listening, level 3 listening, is called global listening. And this is where you're reading more than just what's being said. You're actually listening to the tone. You're listening to the cadence of the words that are coming out. Have they changed their cadence? Is there an ebb and flow in what's being talked about? You're looking, if you're with the person, you're looking at facial expressions. You're looking at micro facial expressions, like the eyebrow twitched. Well, what was that? Why did, right? So what do you think, right? That's a place where I dive in. I do that when I train people, because I do a lot of training. I'll just sit there and I'll look at somebody and I'll be like, okay, so what's going on in your mind right now? Because you have this expression on your face, and I just got to know what's going on, right? So those are the kinds of things that we're looking for here. We're looking for that deep, deep listening. Anybody here work with remote teams? So you got offshore or, you know, somewhere else? This skill is huge when you're dealing with remote teams, right? You got to listen for when there's the big delay, and then probe. Okay, have you gone to sleep on me, or are you thinking about it, right? So there's really a premium put on the listening skills. By the way, how much of our communication is the words that we actually use?
7%.
Yeah, it's like 7 to 10%, depends on who you read. Absolutely. How much of it is the body language? It's like 50%, and then tone is the other 43 or 40%. So you know, the words that we use when we have requirements documents that we write, we're only conveying 7% of the information. Everything else is outside of that. So we got to be clear on this, and we want you to actually, you know, be listening globally. That's the best place to be. Good? All right, moving on. Reflecting and noticing. So reflecting is really seeing what's happening. Just like I said, you know, when I'm training somebody and somebody has this look on their face, all I'm doing is reflecting back. So what's going on for you right now? I'll open it up with a powerful question like, what's going on with you? Open-ended, powerful question, and they get to answer. There are no wrong answers for that. And so then we open up the dialogue around what are we doing? What are we doing, right? Where are you at? How can we move you forward? Okay? So reflecting and noticing what's happening in that specific moment is a great tool, right? Because then you can dig a little deeper into what that person is thinking or contemplating. Interrupting is another tool that I use a lot. Did you ever have a conversation with somebody where they just go on and on and on and on and on? Anybody? Anybody? Okay. So this is where interrupting comes in. So I will interrupt with either a powerful question of some sort, or I'll interrupt with some kind of reflection. I've had coaching clients where I said, you know, I'm really bored right now. Are you bored with going on and on and on with what you're doing? Right, what you're talking about? Right, I'm just calling it out. Hey, I'm really bored here. This is not fun. I'm listening to you whine. Remember, no whining this morning, right? No whining. So again, I'm focused on serving the client, noticing what's happening, and helping them to move forward. Okay, so that's your current state. How are we moving forward? What do we need to do to move forward? Okay, so interrupting is a good skill. Acknowledging. So we want to acknowledge people for how they're being and what they're doing. So there's two sides. We say there's two sides to people. There's the being side and there's the doing side. We want to acknowledge both sides. We want to make sure that we're acknowledging people for who they're being and how that is true to who they are, or true to their own values. So again, you know, it's a tool that we can use to really drive home that they are being seen in the moment, that we know who they are, and we're giving them a pat on the back, right? Good job, right? It goes a long way. Okay, so those are the tools that, and I'm gonna go through the coaching structure here, a session structure. Then I'm gonna show you a video that's a demonstration of coaching, and then you guys are actually gonna go and coach. Okay, coaching session structure is like this. First, you need to find a topic. What is it that you want to talk about? What is it that's important to you? It could be a problem, could be someplace that you're stuck in your life. It could be a situation that you ran into with somebody else. There's a lot of things out there, right? It could be anything. So the idea is to start out with the topic, define what the topic is. Then we get into the coaching skills. So all of the skills that I just talked about are the things that you're going to use. Again, they're on this sheet for those of you who have a sheet, because it looks like not everybody has one yet. So it's on the sheet, right? And you can use those skills: powerful questions, interrupting, all of those. Okay? So we're actually dancing in the moment with the client. We're actually working with them. We're putting things out there. We're responding. We're reading the energy. We're reading how they're interacting with us. All of those things are happening. And then at the end of the session, what we're really looking for is a commitment. What are you going to do to move yourself forward? What are you going to do? Because what's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting.
Right, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So it's not enough just to whine about it or complain about it or recognize it. We need to figure out what we're going to do to move forward from it. So what is it that you're going to do? What are you committing to do? Oh, and by the way, when are you going to have that done? It's not enough to commit to do something. You also need a time box because of Parkinson's law, right? We got to make sure that we're focused on getting things done, and we're focused on moving forward with action. Okay, so that's the structure for a coaching session. It's really pretty easy. Okay, and the way to get good at this is to practice. So I'm going to show a short video. It's like 5 minutes. What I want you to do is think about the skills that we just went over, and what skills did you see during this sample coaching session. Okay? Good? Woo-hoo. Man. You guys need more coffee? All right.
What a powerful question.
What a powerful question. Yes. Actually,
Now you're going to see a demonstration, a short demonstration.